For over a century, we thought we knew everything about the Titanic. We'd seen the movies, read the books, and studied the blueprints. But now, thanks to a groundbreaking deep-sea mission using cutting-edge underwater drones and AI photogrammetry, that belief has been shattered. In 2023, scientists created the first-ever full-scale digital twin of the Titanic, revealing secrets the ocean had kept hidden for 111 years. From twisted railings and broken valves to scorch marks left by heroic engineers, this 3D resurrection isn't just a visual. It's forensic, emotional, and historic. It changes everything we thought we knew. And it proves that Titanic isn't just a sunken ship. It's still speaking. This time, not in myths or guesses, but in measurable, scanned, undeniable truths etched into rust and memory. A digital resurrection. Near the Titanic, deep in the pitch black of the North Atlantic, at a staggering depth of 3,800 meters, two high-tech underwater drones begin their sweep across the Titanic wreck. These aren't average ROVs. They recorded more than 715,000 photos over 3 intense weeks, generating 16 terabytes of visual data that would become the foundation of something extraordinary. This mission, spearheaded by Magellan, National Geographic, and Atlantic Productions, represented a science-driven digital resurrection of the Titanic. Every beam, every corridor, every artifact would be digitally preserved for future generations. One engineer called it a resurrection, a way to time travel back to the night the Titanic vanished. Instead of speculative dives or fading film footage, the team aimed for precision and permanence. No longer would researchers rely on memory or incomplete sketches. This was about building a lasting 3D world beneath the waves. They weren't content with driftwood and rust. They wanted the truth. With this data in hand, the stage was set to challenge everything we thought we knew. With this immense trove of imagery, photogrammetry came into play. Drones used lasers and overlapping angles to stitch together a centimeter-accurate model of the Titanic wreck. What happened next? The wreck came alive in code. Rivets, relics, and ruin revealed in astonishing detail. Let's walk inside. Constructing the Titanic in code. Using photogrammetry, technicians painted every ripple of hull and bolt of deck plating in precise digital form. Hours were spent aligning overlapping views until the wreck became a stunningly realistic 3D model that scientists could walk through via VR. The model captures microscopic details, every rivet, each layer of rust, and even scorch marks on wiring. One expert shared, "We can now count teeth on a gear and see where the metal bent." Such confidence in detail redefined underwater archaeology. This isn't just a showpiece, it's a digital time capsule. The physical ship continues to corrode, but the model locks in who she was and how she shifted beneath the waves. Researchers can rewind the wreck's collapse, testing hypotheses about its deterioration and confirming accounts from deck officers. This digital twin is an archive of loss and heroism woven in iron and code. With an immersive, data-rich model in hand, the team traced every object from once grand rooms to shattered corridors. And that's when they found traces of human life, remnants telling stories frozen in time. Let's move from metal to memory. Rivets, rails, and artifacts. Zoom in across the wreck, and you'll find details that seem out of place until they tell a story. Bent railings still attached to the ship, open portholes, a lone shoe next to a collapsed bunk. The drones captured it all, ancient clutter and uncanny resolution. Investigators linked personal effects, coins, tea-set plates, even children's shoes, to their original locations. One archaeologist said, "We can now trace a child's shoe from a grand stateroom into a collapsed corridor." These weren't breadcrumbs, they were footprints of grief and desperation. A massive debris trail stretching over 600 meters revealed the path of destruction. Boilers erupted, decks pancaked, and machinery flung outward, each fragment marking a moment in the ship's final collapse. This forensic layout allowed researchers to reconstruct events minute by minute, Objects weren't just scattered, they were arranged as if the wreck itself narrated how tragedy unfolded. These scattered objects led explorers deeper below the deck, into the Titanic's boiler rooms, where a different kind of evidence awaited: mechanical sacrifice. Let's descend to meet the men who fought for the lights and lives above. Boiler room heroes. As the Titanic's bow dipped and her engines struggled, the most heroic efforts weren't visible from the lifeboats. They were happening below deck. Deep inside the ship's boiler rooms, amid sweltering heat and rising water, firemen and engineers fought to keep the lights on. The photogrammetry scans captured something striking: concave boiler shapes and manually opened steam valves, frozen in rust and time. There were 29 boilers and over 150 furnaces, and keeping them functional wasn't just about power, it was about buying precious time. Every extra minute of light meant more lifeboats launched, more passengers guided out of chaos. These men had no hope of escape, yet they held the line, pushing back the dark so others could survive. Eyewitnesses in lifeboats recalled a haunting image: lights glowing long after the Titanic's bow had vanished. These new 3D scans confirmed the ship's power systems ran much longer than expected. The electrical systems stayed operational because the men in those boiler rooms never left their posts, said one researcher. Their sacrifice wasn't a footnote, it was a miracle of endurance and duty. In a world of polished brass and first-class comfort, it was the grimy laborers who saved lives while knowing they wouldn't save themselves. While the men below fought to preserve power, their efforts shaped another battlefield: the ship's electrical core. Evidence shows the engineers didn't just keep the lights on, they rerouted them. Their final acts reveal a level of skill and control few expected under such pressure. Power in the darkness. The Titanic didn't simply vanish into the night. As it sank, the ship continued to pulse with life thanks to its electrical engineers. The photogrammetry scans revealed scorch marks on copper wires, overloaded circuits, and a manually secured steam valve near the stern, evidence of a final, desperate strategy to keep energy flowing. Electrical engineers aboard Titanic rerouted power, adjusting switches to prioritize lighting over propulsion. Their actions delayed the blackout that otherwise would have plunged passengers into complete panic. A team member from the scan project noted, "You can follow the last decisions they made, circuit by circuit." These findings turned technical choices into life-saving decisions. One open valve, preserved in the wreck, appears to have been locked into place, possibly to redirect steam pressure toward emergency systems. Combined with scorched paneling and fused cabling, the 3D model tells a story of engineers using every ounce of the ship's design to hold on. It wasn't enough to save the ship, but it may have saved hundreds. This quiet corner of the wreck, now illuminated by scan data, marks the Titanic's brain, still pulsing until her final breath. These lifelines, invisible during the chaos above, proved as vital as any lifeboat. Beneath the ship's surface, the damage ran deeper than anyone knew. The scans revealed something even more sobering. The iceberg didn't carve a massive hole. Instead, it delivered death by 1,000 cuts, a series of small but devastating ruptures. It's time to confront the real reason the Titanic couldn't stay afloat. Death by 1,000 cuts. For decades, films and textbooks depicted a giant gash in Titanic's side, but the latest scans tell a subtler and far deadlier story. Instead of one catastrophic wound, the iceberg inflicted 6 long, narrow slits across a 300-foot stretch of the ship's hull. The result? A slow, unrelenting flood that Titanic's safety design was never built to withstand. The Titanic's design allowed 4 watertight compartments to flood without sinking. But the iceberg struck just where it hurt most, cutting through enough compartments to create an unstoppable chain reaction. As each one filled, the ship dipped lower, spilling water into the next. This created a domino effect the designers never anticipated. These cuts weren't gaping holes, they were thin seams opened under pressure. Water didn't pour in, it crept, surged, climbed. It was precision damage, explained one marine engineer, the kind no designer plans for and no captain sees coming. That's what made it so deadly. The 3D wreck model even shows how these slits spread along rivet lines, weak points under stress. Each rupture silently sealed Titanic's fate long before panic reached the decks. The scans don't just rewrite what we know, they explain why the ship went down so fast and so fatally. Now that we know how the water got in, the next question is what happened as the ship broke apart. The scans don't just show where, it reveals how. Next, we follow the exact sequence of collapse. The Titanic didn't snap cleanly. It tore itself apart under its own weight. Anatomy of a breakup. As Titanic's stern lifted out of the water, the stress on its frame reached unbearable levels. The new 3D model reveals something haunting, a twist and tear, not a clean break. The ship's body, weighed down by flooding, snapped. Like paper, its decks shearing sideways as metal surrendered to physics. The stern's keel buckled first. Then, one deck at a time, the structure collapsed inward, like pages of a book curling into themselves. The breakup wasn't a single moment. It was a minute-long unraveling, seen now in chilling detail through debris patterns, scattered engines, and staircase twisted into knots. Recovered engine parts lie far from where they should be. That displacement, only explainable by internal collapse, shows Titanic didn't just split, it exploded from within under strain. "We're watching a ship come apart in stages," said one wreck specialist. "Not like how movies show it, but something much messier." The stern's twisted descent even created secondary damage. As it re-entered the ocean, it didn't glide down. It fell with force, collapsing in on itself under pressure. The scans preserve this chaos in stunning clarity. Every torn plate and fractured beam tells a story of stress, speed, and structural surrender. The breakup left behind a signature of violence, one still visible today. But it also revealed how differently the ship's two halves suffered. While the stern crumbled and scattered, the bow took another path, sinking deeper, quieter, and more intact. Next, we explore how these two ends of Titanic show two very different deaths. Bow versus stern. The Titanic's bow and stern didn't just land in different locations, they experienced entirely different fates. The 3D scans show the bow lying deeply buried in silt, surprisingly preserved. Its railings, portholes, and anchor chains remain eerily recognizable. In contrast, the stern is unrecognizable, reduced to tangled debris scattered across the seafloor. This contrast tells us more than we thought. The bow sank steadily, flooding bow compartments filled with water and weighed it down. It dropped through the water with graceful precision, embedding into the seabed nose first. That's why it remains structurally coherent, like a ghost ship frozen mid-descent. The stern, however, fell like wreckage. When it broke off, it still held air pockets. This trapped buoyancy created a chaotic descent, causing the stern to corkscrew, collapse, and hit bottom hard. That violent end scattered everything: boilers, walls, beams, across a wider radius. "It's like watching order descend into chaos," said one diver. Even the debris trail tells the story. Parts of the ship, banisters, furniture, fragments of engines, were thrown like shrapnel between the bow and stern. This trail acts as a forensic bridge, allowing experts to trace the sequence from breakup to impact. It's not just wreckage, it's timeline in metal. Among the scattered wreckage are not just steel and rivets, but traces of lives, letters, boots, watches, and notes. And one haunting piece of evidence, a scrawled final message tucked in a tin box. In the next point, we listen to those lost voices preserved deep beneath the ocean. Human stories in the wreck. Not all the Titanic's secrets were made of steel. As the scans mapped out metal beams and broken boilers, they also found something quieter: human echoes. Near the officers' quarters, researchers discovered a scorched tin box containing what appears to be a handwritten note, sealed just before the ship went under. Experts haven't fully revealed what the note says, but the handwriting, shaky, rushed, offers an intimate moment of panic and purpose. Nearby, a pocket watch stopped at 2:18 a.m. adds another timestamp to the final moments. These aren't relics, they're witnesses. In the debris fields, shoes still lie together, side by side, possibly belonging to a child. A doll's head rests near the collapsed stairwell. Teacups sit intact in the mud, their owners long gone. These items do more than tell a story. They humanize the data, turning charts into memories. The wireless room where Titanic's final SOS was sent reveals burned circuits in a fused relay. Visual proof of a last message that traveled across the Atlantic. "It's like standing inside history," one scan technician said. "We're seeing not just what happened, but who it happened to." And amid these personal echoes, some of the Titanic's most controversial myths return to light. Was First Officer Murdoch a coward or a hero? Did the films get it all wrong? With scan evidence now confirming some actions and debunking all others, the time has come to confront fact over fiction. Exonerating Murdoch and other myths. For decades, First Officer William Murdoch's legacy has been haunted by rumor. Some claimed he panicked, shot passengers, and took his own life. Films like Titanic 1997 echoed that tale. But the new digital scan tells a different story, one shaped by evidence, not hearsay. The placement of lifeboats and damaged davits shows something Murdoch's critics ignored. He stayed. He helped launch multiple lifeboats from the starboard side, coordinating chaos as the ship tilted. "He was there until the end," said a maritime historian reviewing the model. The wreck backs that up. Scan data also suggests that several davits were fully deployed, not half-used. This indicates lifeboats were launched in sequence, not abandoned in panic. Davit alignment matches testimony from Second Officer Lightoller, who always insisted Murdoch acted with calm and command. Correcting this myth isn't just about defending one man, it's about respecting the record and everyone who tried to help. In an age of dramatization, the Titanic scan gives voice to the real people, not the scripts we've written about them. "These scans let us rewrite the story," says researcher Becky Harper, "with the truth this time." Now that the digital model reshapes what we know about people like Murdoch, it raises a deeper question. How long will this truth survive? Titanic is decaying fast. Rust-eating bacteria, pressure, and time that are erasing it every year. That's why the next chapter isn't about discovery, it's about preservation. The digital lifeboat time is consuming Titanic. Salt, pressure, and rust-eating microbes have stripped entire rooms of their walls. "It's fading faster than expected," one marine biologist said. "The wreck's wooden decks have nearly dissolved. Some structures may collapse entirely within the next decade." That's where the digital twin steps in. Using over 715,000 high-resolution images stitched together through photogrammetry, researchers have built a full-scale 3D model. This isn't a replica, it's the Titanic, down to every twisted beam and weathered rivet. Apps like VROV Pilot now allow researchers and the public to explore the wreck in interactive space. Scientists can test pressure loads, simulate flooding, and map microbial spread, all without touching the fragile remains. "This is the future of maritime archaeology," said photogrammetry expert Tristan White. "The model preserves more than metal, it captures memory. With Titanic likely gone by 2100, this data set becomes a time capsule, a legacy of what happened, how it happened, and who it happened to. It's the ship's second life, coded, preserved, and accessible forever. But the digital twin doesn't just look backward. It also gives insight into the disaster's engineering flaws. By studying the wreck and its failure points, experts can uncover why the Titanic sank and what that means for ship safety today. Engineering lessons in safety. The Titanic was hailed as unsinkable, but her downfall lay in design. The new scans show how a string of narrow slits along the hull, not one gaping tear, slowly undid the ship. These 6 cuts, small by modern standards, defeated even the most ambitious safety systems of the time. The watertight compartments were actually open at the top, allowing water to spill over like a staircase once the bow dipped. As each filled, Titanic tilted more. The model shows this cascading failure in chilling clarity. Water didn't flood, it crawled, slowly, relentlessly. Today, shipbuilders are using Titanic's autopsy to refine design, overlapping bulkheads, higher vertical barriers, and dynamic ballast systems. Titanic taught us the importance of fail-safes within fail-safes, said engineer Kai Rao. The scan brings those lessons into sharp focus, revealing where every plate buckled and every system collapsed. Beyond engineering, it's about preparedness. The Titanic carried 20 lifeboats for 2,200 people. Today's regulations require far more, and drills to go with them. This wreck, now frozen in code, reminds us, design alone is never enough. Safety requires planning, and plans require realism. And even now, more than a century later, Titanic's story keeps evolving. The deeper we scan, the more we uncover, not just wreckage, but meaning. As we close this journey, one question lingers. What secrets still lie waiting in the dark? Closing mystery. With every scan, every simulation, and every rediscovered item, the Titanic becomes clearer, but its mystery never fades. Are there still messages sealed in locked rooms? Personal effects buried beneath the silt? Could deeper dives uncover the missing middle between bow and stern? This isn't just curiosity. These are unanswered questions of history. And now, with the digital twin, researchers can simulate searches, plan missions, and potentially locate long-lost chambers. One historian put it best, "We're not finished. We're just getting a better map." The wreck may fade, but the model endures. It offers the world, students, experts, and future explorers, a way to engage with Titanic not as a myth, but as a complex human story. It keeps the questions alive. What more can we find? What will it mean? As you reflect on everything we've uncovered, remember, Titanic is no longer just a wreck. It's a conversation between the past and future, between steel and story. And thanks to technology, that conversation is still unfolding. Even at the bottom of the Atlantic, where sunlight never reaches and pressure can crush steel like paper, the Titanic still speaks. Not through whispers of legend or rumors passed through generations, but through the unmistakable clarity of data, scanned hull plates, twisted beams, and burned wiring. This new mission didn't just explore a wreck. It resurrected a story long buried beneath 2 miles of ocean and myth. The digital twin isn't just a model, it's a second chance to get it right. For the first time, we've been able to walk its halls without diving gear, to see the shape of the breakup, trace the course of the flooding, and understand how 1912's most advanced ship met its match. And in doing so, we've honored not only those who perished, but those who acted. Boilermen who stayed behind, engineers who rerouted power, and wireless operators who tapped out distress signals until water silenced their keys. Titanic's remains are fading. Rust-eating bacteria called rusticles gnaw at her bones daily. In a few decades, she may collapse entirely. But thanks to photogrammetry, her shape, her story, and her scars are now preserved in digital stone. Not just for filmmakers or historians, but for the world. This isn't just about Titanic. It's about how we confront history. With reverence, yes, but also with tools that help us learn more than we ever could before. It's about pulling the past forward, making sure the people lost are not just numbers on a manifest, but lives remembered with detail, depth, and truth. So as the sea reclaims what it once swallowed, this digital resurrection ensures that the Titanic will never disappear again. Not in our minds, not in our records, and not in our collective memory. Because the ship may have sunk, but the story, reassembled piece by piece, rivet by rivet, is finally complete. And now it belongs to all of us.